We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's Voice to the World. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Trump extends ceasefire awaiting proposal from Iran while blockade of Iranian ports to continue. Iran terms it as a ploy to buy time as uncertainty over peace talks looms. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh pushes for enhanced India-Germany defence industrial partnerships in Berlin, highlights country's proactive approach to West Asia situation. Nation pays a somber tribute to the victims of Pahalgam attack on its first anniversary. 26 innocent lives were lost in the deadly terror attack. Florida launches criminal probe into OpenAI and ChatGPT over last year's deadly shooting. Company terms incident unfortunate, asserting no responsibility. And Indian women take on South Africa. Women in the third T20 in Johannesburg today focus on Smriti Mandhana and Deepti Sharma's India fights to keep the series alive. And on to the details now. U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday said he was extending a ceasefire with Iran to give more time for negotiations, but would maintain Washington's naval blockade of the country's ports. Trump posted on social media that he would extend the ceasefire until Iran came up with a proposal to end the conflict. However, he directed the U.S. military to continue the blockade against Iran and remain ready and able. The ceasefire extension came hours before it was believed to be set to expire. Well, Iranian Foreign Minister Syed Abbas Araghchi said in a post on X on Tuesday that the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports is an act of war and thus a violation of the ceasefire, and attacking Iranian merchant ships and detaining their crew members were even more serious violations. Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guards on Tuesday threatened to prevent oil production in West Asia if Iran faced attacks launched from its Gulf neighbor's territory. Also, Commander of Guards Aerospace Force Majid Mossavi said in a statement that if their geography and facilities are used in the service of the enemies to attack the Iranian nation, they should bid farewell to oil production in West Asia. And Iran on Tuesday called on the United Nations to condemn the seizure by the United States of an Iranian cargo ship, characterizing the move as an act of piracy and a breach of a ceasefire between Tehran and Washington. Well, Amir Saeed Iravani, Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, said in a letter addressed to the Security Council and the Secretary General that such conduct bears the hallmarks of piracy in nature and amounts to a dangerous escalation that endangers the safety and security of vital shipping lanes. Iranavi urged the UN to condemn the seizure and demand the ship's release. Well, also early on Sunday, U.S. President Trump announced that the U.S. Navy had fired on and then taken control of the Tuska cargo ship in the Sea of Oman. Trump said the Iran-flagged vessel is subject to U.S. sanctions. Trump said on Sunday that the Tuska was seized after failing to respond to a warning to stop. And U.S. Vice President Vance's planned trip to Islamabad on Tuesday was delayed, then postponed indefinitely. White House has confirmed that J.D. Vance and other members of the U.S. delegation won't be traveling to Islamabad. According to U.S. officials, Vance's visit has been deferred for now because of Iran's failure to respond to the U.S.'s negotiating position ahead of the talks. While Trump had long confirmed that a team of Vance and his special envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, would be visiting Islamabad, Iran had not committed to participating in the fresh round. Also, the United Nations Secretary General has welcomed the announcement by the U.S. to extend the ceasefire. In a statement, Antonio Guterres said that this is an important step towards de-escalation and creating critical space for diplomacy and confidence building between Iran and the United States. We encourage all parties to build on this momentum, refrain from actions that could undermine the ceasefire, and engage constructively in negotiations to reach a sustainable and lasting resolution. Well, Iranian-American activists and human rights advocates gathered in Irvine, California on Tuesday to call for a halt to executions of political prisoners in Iran and a ceasefire they said must include protections for human rights. The rally also drew attention to an ongoing hunger strike movement by prisoners protesting detention conditions and lack of due process. Also, the participants urged international monitoring of Iranian prisons and stronger action by world leaders to protect political prisoners. And Wall Street stocks followed their global counterparts to a lower close on Tuesday, and crude prices extended their gains amid concerns over the latest developments involving the Iran war. All three major U.S. stock indexes extended their losses towards the end of the session. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell to 92.96 points. The S&P 500 fell 0.63% and Nasdaq Composite fell 0.59%. Well, the European shares ended lower as risk appetite soared on Iran war concerns. Emerging market stocks rose 10.37 points. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan closed higher by 0.77%, while Japan's Nikkei rose 0.89%. Also, the oil prices reversed an earlier dip after Trump earlier said he did not want to extend the ceasefire. U.S. crude rose 2.81% to settle at $92.13 per barrel, while Brent settled at $98.48 per barrel, up by 3.14% on the day. Well, Florida has launched a criminal probe into OpenAI and its artificial intelligence app ChatGPT over a deadly shooting last year that killed 2 people at Florida State University. Attorney General James Atmayer said on Tuesday that the chatbot advised the shooter on what type of gun to use, on which ammo went with which gun, on whether or not a gun would be useful at short range. He added that if it was a person on the other end of that screen, we would be charging them with murder. A gunman killed 2 people and wounded 6 others at Florida State University in April last year before he was shot by officers and hospitalized. The suspect was charged with multiple counts of murder and attempted murder. And Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva met with Portuguese Prime Minister Luís Montenegro and President António José Seguro on Tuesday during a visit to Lisbon. During his joint statement in Lisbon's Belém Palace alongside Portuguese Prime Minister Luís Montenegro, Lula da Silva said he saw Portugal as a key gateway for business interest after the EU-Mercosur agreement. He added Brazil does not favor either China or the United States as a trading partner and stressed support for multilateralism. Dozens of pro- and anti-Lula Brazilians protested in favor and against the visit of the Brazilian president to Portugal. Lula da Silva concluded a 2-day visit to Germany on Tuesday, where he announced a tranche of 500 million euros from Germany to a climate fund managed by BNDES. And a Salvadorian court on Tuesday began the mass trial of over 400 alleged leaders of the MS-13 gang, accused of carrying out over 47,000 crimes between 2012 and 2022. Now, the prosecutors allege that the 486 defendants directed crimes such as killings, gender-based murders, extortions, weapon trafficking, and forced disappearances. Authorities also stated the case included orders given to kill 86 people in 2022, considered the most violent weekend in post-war El Salvador. They also face rebellion charges for allegedly trying to establish a parallel state through territorial control. The Salvadorian prosecutor's office requested the judge to impose the maximum prison sentence for each crime. Also, the defendants are being held in 5 prisons, most of them at Ceasefire, a maximum security facility opened in 2023 under President Bukele that has become a symbol of the country's strict crackdown on gang violence. Well, Finland is taking measures to protect its Baltic Sea coast from the high risk of an oil spill from Russia's shadow fleet, installing a permanent oil boom fastening system. The Nordic country has repeatedly expressed fears of a major Baltic Sea oil spill from a tanker belonging to Russia's so-called shadow fleet, aging and often uninsured vessels used to circumvent Western sanctions against Moscow. Now, the booms would be able to contain the oil before it reaches shore of sensitive ecosystems. A collision or grounding of a shadow fleet tanker could result in thousands of tons of crude oil spilling into the water, with fatal consequences for the fragile ecosystems. And the most recent update on the attack at the pyramids of Doordarshan, President Claude Sheinbaum said on Tuesday that the attack was an isolated incident, emphasizing that Mexico's tourist destinations have consistently been safe for international visitors. She said they had not witnessed anything like this in Mexico. It is the first time this has happened, while the authorities from the state of Mexico said that 7 of the 13 injured suffering gunshot wounds and that 6 had already been discharged from the hospital. The injured are from Canada, the United States, Colombia, Russia, Brazil, and the Netherlands, officials added. And NASA presented the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope on Tuesday, saying it is prepared for launch in early September. The launch is scheduled roughly 8 months ahead of the original timeline. According to NASA, the telescope, named after the agency's first chief astronomer, will have a field of view at least 100 times wider than Hubble's and could potentially observe light from up to 1 billion galaxies over its lifetime. NASA Administrator Jard Isaacman stated that the project was also done under budget and will enhance current capabilities like the Hubble and James Webb telescopes. The Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope is expected to see exoplanets and planet-forming disks to better map the planetary systems in the Milky Way. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Preparations in full swing for ensuring hassle-free polling on April 23rd in Tamil Nadu and parts of West Bengal. Portals of Kedarnath temple open amid rituals marking key phase of Char Dham Yatra. And World Earth Day today to champion conservation and inspire collective action for a healthier, more sustainable planet.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Kuran. And moving on, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Tuesday addressed the German Parliamentary Standing Committee on Defence and Security. He was received by Member of Parliament and Chairman of the committee, Thomas Robekamp. The discussion centred around India-Germany strategic partnership and the recently signed India-EU Strategic and Defence Partnership Agreement. The two sides also shared their perspectives on important regional and global issues. During the visit, the minister is expected to hold talks with his German counterpart, Boris Pistorius, on boosting defence industrial cooperation, joint development and co-production under India's Make in India programme. A defence industrial cooperation roadmap and an implementing arrangement for cooperation in UN peacekeeping training are expected to be signed. Well, a year has passed since the picturesque Bisasaran Valley in Kashmir's Pahalgam was shattered by a terrorist attack. Today marks the first anniversary of the horrific terror attack that claimed 26 innocent lives. The nation mourns the victims.
It's been 1 year since the serene valley of Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir was shaken by a brutal terrorist attack that left the entire nation grieving. It was on this day last year, 26 people were murdered in cold blood by Pakistan-backed terrorists. 25 tourists from various Indian states and 1 local resident. 20 were injured. 3 terrorists separated men from women and children and shot them at point-blank range before fleeing into the dense jungle of Baisaran. For the families, painful memories of that tragic day linger.
ऐसा लगता था मुझे कि he will come back, definitely वो आएगा, लेकिन सच्चाई तो सच्चाई है, मालूम है हमें, पर दिमाग नहीं मानता था इस बात को ना।
अभी तो सिर्फ सिर्फ चल रहा है, मतलब कट रहा है, दिन कट रहा है, ऐसा ही लग रहा है, क्योंकि उनके जाने के बाद सब कुछ चला गया है। घर का खुशियाँ, मेरी जिंदगी का सारी खुशी सब खत्म हो गया है।
बहुत सारे ऐसी चेंजेस हैं जो उस घटना ने मेरी ज़िंदगी में कर दिए हैं, और ये ऐसी चीज़ें हैं जो मुझे लगता है विथ टाइम मेरे साथ ये रहेगा। ये ट्रॉमा, ये पेन, ये ग्रीफ पूरी लाइफ रहने वाले हैं।
Remember this? A dazed Himanshi Narwal, married just a week ago, slumped next to her husband's body, Naval Officer Lieutenant Vinay Narwal. A joyous honeymoon turned into senseless tragedy, a picture India could not look away from. The Resistance Front, a proxy of the Pakistan-based UN-designated terrorist group Lashkar-e-Taiba, claimed responsibility for the attack. New Delhi immediately suspended the Indus Waters Treaty, expelled Pakistani diplomats, and closed borders. 2 weeks later, India launched Operation Sindoor in retaliation, destroying terror infrastructure inside Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. An intense military conflict ensued for 4 days before Pakistan asked for a ceasefire on May 10th. As the nation remembers the victims today, the call for vigilance and unity grows stronger. Their memory remains a reminder of the cost of terror and the enduring spirit of resilience. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, a year on, as India remembers and mourns the loss of lives, the Indian Army has issued strong messages. In a social media post, the Indian Army said, and I quote, "For acts against India, the response is assured. Justice will be served always." Unquote. The post is accompanied by a picture that read Operation Mahadev. It was only a matter of time. 300 kilometers of treacherous terrain was scanned, involving 93 days and nights of relentless search, resulting into neutralization of 3 perpetrators. It added that the Operation Sindoor continues. Well, earlier on Tuesday, two armies stressed that some boundaries should never be crossed, saying when the boundaries of humanity are crossed, the response is decisive. Justice is served. India stands united. The post was accompanied by a picture that read, "Some boundaries should never be crossed. India does not forget." And moving on to updates related to ongoing assembly elections in India, arrangements for ensuring hassle-free polling on Thursday have started falling in place in Tamil Nadu and parts of West Bengal. The Election Commission has made extensive preparations for the voting on April 23rd in the two states with an aim to ensure a smooth and fair electoral process. To prevent irregularities and violence, several measures have been implemented, including the large-scale deployment of paramilitary forces, which is the highest ever in West Bengal. Even reserve forces are being kept for deployment if required. Meanwhile, paramilitary forces have been deployed to reassure voters and ensure they can cast their votes without fear, as arrangements have also been made to escort voters safely to polling stations if needed. Well, West Bengal will vote in two phases on April 23rd and 29th, while Tamil Nadu will go to the polls in a single phase on April 23rd. The results for West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Assam, Kerala and Puducherry will be declared on the 4th of May. And under Phase 2 of International Election Visitors Program 2026, as many as 34 delegates from 17 countries travelling to West Bengal and Tamil Nadu to visit dispatch and distribution centres, other facilities including the district control rooms and the media monitoring centres, paving the way for foreign delegates to witness poll preparations and real-time voting in West Bengal and Tamil Nadu. The IEVP is a flagship program of the Election Commission of India for international cooperation and engagement with election management bodies of other countries and international organizations. And the portals of the sacred Kedarnath temple in Uttarakhand's Rudraprayag will open for the public after traditional rituals on Wednesday morning. Well, also, the temple has been adorned with vibrant flowers, enhancing the spiritual ambience of the shrine. Final arrangements are in place to ensure a smooth and safe darshan for the thousands of devotees expected to arrive in the coming days. Kedarnath temple is part of the Char Dham Yatra, which began on Sunday on the occasion of Akshaya Tritiya with the opening of the portals of Gangotri and Yamunotri shrines in the Uttarkashi district. The gates of Kedarnath will open today, followed by Badrinath in Chamoli on April 23rd. And in sports news, Indian women face South Africa women is a must-win third T20 international in Johannesburg, with vice-captains Priti Mandhana and all-rounder Deepti Sharma under the spotlight. South Africa lead the 5-match series 2-0 and are eyeing a series win at the Bull Ring. India, meanwhile, are desperate to bounce back. Mandhana, India's key batter, has had a quiet start with scores of 13 and 12. Deepti Sharma's form is also a matter of concern. She has struggled with the bat and gone wicketless in both matches. India's batting has lacked firepower at the end, managing only 157 and 147 in the first two games. With the T20 World Cup in England just round the corner, Captain Harmanpreet Kaur and her team will be looking to regain confidence and return to their winning ways. And in Indian Premier League, Sunrisers Hyderabad defeated Delhi Capitals by 47 runs in Hyderabad on Tuesday. Batting first, Hyderabad posted a massive 242 for 2, powered by a brilliant knock from Abhishek Sharma. Abhishek batted the entire 20 overs for the first time ever, hitting 10 sixes in a 68-ball 135. His second-best score in IPL. In reply, Delhi Capitals struggled to keep up and finished at 195 for 9. The turning point came in the final over when Harsh Dubey picked up key wickets, including Aksa Patel and Sameer Rizvi, ending any hopes of a comeback. Earlier, Ishan Malinga led the bowling attack with an impressive 4-wicket haul. It was a dominant all-round performance from Sunrisers Well, the Lucknow Super Giants take on Rajasthan Royals in match 32 for IPL 2026 in Lucknow today. Rajasthan Royals started strong this season but are now struggling, losing their last two matches. This dip is similar to past seasons where they began well but lost momentum later. Lucknow Super Giants are also under pressure coming into the match after 3 straight defeats. And today is the World Earth Day, a day dedicated to reminding us that protecting our planet is a shared responsibility. The goal is simple: to draw global attention towards environmental conservation and inspire every generation to build a healthier, happier Earth for the future. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya reports for more.
Protecting the Earth is not a choice, it's a responsibility for every generation. Earth Day brings millions together to raise awareness about critical issues like climate change, global warming, pollution and biodiversity loss. This year's theme is Our Power, Our Planet. It emphasizes the real changes begins with individuals and communities. The focus is on encouraging renewable energy adoption, strengthening community action and empowering people to fight climate change through everyday choices.
Himalayas provides the water, the food and the ecological stability for a quarter of the world's population. So when you look at those numbers, it's imperative that if you're trying to celebrate an Earth Day, then you need to celebrate or at least think about and look at the concerns of the Himalayas, what has happened in the past, what is the ongoing activity and how it could be having impacts which are irreversible. And therefore it becomes important to have a responsible thought process and plan for the future of the Himalayas.
The theme also highlights the need to reshape environmental policies through collective action, reduce plastic pollution and move towards a sustainable future powered by clean energy. Earth Day is now observed in over 190 countries. It began in 1970 after growing concerns about environmental damage. Every small step matters: reducing fossil fuel use, saving water, promoting recycling, protecting biodiversity, and supporting sustainable practices. Because protecting the Earth isn't optional, it is essential for our survival, health, and the future. Tapas Bhattacharya's report, DD India.
Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.